Guys, this pay-per-view is definitely going to be a head scratcher. What is up, guys? This is Godzilla Suplex, and welcome to today's episodes. I'll be giving my official predictions for the 3 feature fights of UFC 241. But before I do that, please hit that subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell so you get a notification every time I make a video. So guys, let's get into this, because UFC is gearing up to beef up this amazing card at UFC 241. Their feature fights look absolutely amazing, and this is going to be a great night if you are a UFC fan. But since we have 3 feature fights, let me go ahead and get into the fighter goals, which we do every episode, where we map out what fighters are trying to do to each other in order to win the fight. So we're going to start off with our first feature fight, or probably the lowest on the card feature fight of UFC 241, Yoel Romero versus Paulo Costa. And we're going to start off with the lower ranked fighter, Paulo Costa. What does he need to do to get this upset win over Yoel Romero? And I think it's simple. I think it was mapped out sort of in the Jacare versus Yoel Romero fight. He has to stay all up in Yoel Romero's face, keep making him work, keep hitting the body with strong punches, and watch out for the takedown. I think if he can do that, if we can become a volume striker, constantly get all up in Yoel Romero's space and don't let him rest once he does one of his amazing bursts, I think Yoel Romero will be left helpless, and his stamina will give out with his arms, and you'll be able to get around his block and make things happen that you otherwise couldn't do. And nowhere else in the fight, I meant not Yoel Romero, but Luke Rockhold made the same mistake. That's why he got knocked out. He kept the pressure for 3 rounds, but once he stopped and Yoel Romero was actually able to get a good breath in, that's when he goes to town on you, and Paulo Costa cannot afford to do that. He has to keep a constant pressure and constantly win the fight on the feet and keep the takedown from happening. I think if he can do those 2 things at a constant and a high volume of rate without getting tired, because once you get tired, you let your arms down, your pace goes down, then Yoel Romero, then you're fighting right into this game. I think Paulo Costa can win this fight. But now let's look on the other side. What does Yoel Romero need to do to scratch out a much needed win in his late UFC career? And I think for Yoel Romero is to do much of what he does. Keep your head on the swivel, moving out of Paulo Costa's way. Make Paulo Costa use a lot of energy, throwing a whole bunch of takedowns, because Paulo Costa on the ground is a very weak Paulo Costa. And keep your head moving, keep your distance from him, and make sure when you burst for the takedown and get Paulo Costa in a position where he's not used to, and go for the finish on the ground. Because if we could get him on the ground, lean on him, lay on him, I think Paulo Costa's big frame is going to get tired, his punches are going to get sloppy. In the layer fight, Yoel Romero is going to have anything he wants. In the maybe 2nd or 3rd round, he's going to get anything he wants, any kind of look he wants, when he wants it, and burst, and he's probably going to be able to win the fight by near knockout decision. So who do I think is going to win this fight? And I really do think Yoel Romero is going to use his expertise and experience to get the better of Paulo Costa. Even though he's an undefeated fighter, Paulo Costa is going to bring the pace coming out, but I think Yoel Romero with one takedown will change the complexity of this fight. He will maul Paulo Costa on the ground and cause him to cause his muscle to work against him in the later rounds. And then once he gets you into that game plan, he's going to start throwing hard punches and bursts and resting on defense, and probably win the fight by a unanimous decision. So now let's go on to our second featured fight, Anthony Pettis versus the returning legend Nate Diaz. And this is going to be such an interesting fight, because Anthony Pettis is coming off that huge win against Wonderboy, the first person ever to knock Wonderboy out cold. Nate Diaz's last fight was against Conor McGregor back in 2016, so he has been out for 3 full years trying to make a comeback. He's been itching to get back, but the deal has not been good from the UFC. I guess they have come to terms, and now he is coming back to the ring. What a way to sit out. But now, what are their fighting goals, and what is the goal to win this match? We're going to start off with Anthony Pettis who had the amazing knockout against Wonderboy not too long ago, earlier this year. What does he need to do to win this fight? And he has to mix it up with the kicks to the leg and to the body. Do not try instantly box Nate Diaz, because Diaz, even though he's been out for a long time, he's still going to retain that toughness and boxing. So he has to break down other parts of Diaz's body to make sure that he cannot have a huge impact in the fight. Use your amazing striking at different angles to expose Nate Diaz's rust in the ring. And never get in a strong striking engagement with Nate Diaz. He will tear your tail up, and try to conserve energy for the later rounds, because he will keep that constant pace for the whole fight. So Anthony Pettis needs to punch hard at this new weight and have, well, I would say volume, because that's what Nate Diaz is going to do. He needs to have power over volume and constantly hurt Nate Diaz and try to get the decision win. And even though he wants to get the finish, I think he should keep his opportunities open, because Nate Diaz is not going to have a lot of openings in him. So he definitely needs to keep it tight, because Nate Diaz, if he sees him at least a little bit getting gas, he's going to put his foot on the pedal and try to go for the finish. And I think it's not going to turn out good for Anthony Pettis in that situation. So now, what is the fighter goals for the legend, the man, the tough guy, the Conor McGregor beater, the McNugget beater, if you want to even say it, Nate Diaz? What does he need to do to win this fight coming off a 3-year layoff? And I think it is make it a boxing engagement. Let Pettis throw all the kicks he needs to, and then constantly pressure right after that. Hurt him each time that he tries to get flashy with his kicks. Mirror it with your own kicks. Get in close and constantly punish him for every time he uses a huge kick, gassing his stamina for about 3 seconds, and then get back up in his face and barrage him with punches. I think that is the goal for Nate Diaz, to pressure him when he tries to risk it all with huge punches and attacks, and make it a tight contest, or a tight boxing contest, so he can go ahead and get the finish or get the unanimous decision. But who do I think is going to win? I think Nate Diaz is going to be smart in this fight, and he's going to take the crown, come back after 3 years. You know, Pettis has a lot of power. I think Pettis is going to make the mistake of trying to flash knock out this dude with hard punches. I think Nate Diaz is going to really put the hands on him with his stamina and his constant pacing, and he's going to do what Tony Ferguson did to him in the lightweight division. So now onto our final feature fight in our main event, the legendary Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic. And if y'all don't know, that was my very first episode of UFC Zilla, I think approximately from this date a year ago. So man, time does fly. Hit that subscribe button, that notification bell, man. I've been doing this for a whole year of UFC Zilla. So man, it's just so great to keep doing it and just see how this game has evolved ever since Stipe won that upset over Francis Ngannou, man. It's just been quite a journey as an MMA fan to just watch how everything has changed around me. Stipe getting knocked out, Junior Dos Santos making a huge comeback, Francis Ngannou going through his ups and downs and finally rising again like the athlete we know he should have been. So man, it's been crazy. So now let's get to this main event and who is going to win this tremendous fight between Daniel Cormier versus Stipe 2. I think this is going to be a crazy fight in itself. I think it's going to be way crazier than the first time. Stipe underestimated this guy and he got knocked out. And Daniel Cormier has a lot of things on the line. If he loses this fight, his GOAT status is in flux, especially against John Jones' undefeated record. So this is a must win for DC's legacy to finally complete him and lock him in at number 2 or number 3 on the GOAT status tier in UFC history. So now, what are the fighter goals for these guys? Starting off with the challenger and former UFC heavyweight champion, the baddest man on the planet, Stipe Miocic. He needs to lock up his game very, very tight. There should not be a moment where he's not moving and not using his size to his advantage. The inside game, we know Daniel Cormier is at his most dangerous, but he really needs to keep the range on DC. DC likes to come over with a lot of power shots, and the clinch game is where he's particularly good at slipping in hard punches and knock you down. So Stipe has to take a little bit of a different approach, use your more ranged combat, and be careful in clinch moments. leaning more towards the defensive side than offensive side, and start leaning on DC, using some of that wrestling, because since you are so much bigger than him and natural at that weight, I think you do have the luxury of being able to lean on him and make him tired, and sort of pull in the punches and the damages with the tiredness, much like you did with Francis Ngannou. I think you're not going to be able to get DC out of there. I think you just have to hit hard and keep him down, because I think Daniel Cormier is sort of like a backwards version of Francis Ngannou, where he is more wrestling oriented, but his power is not one punch knockout in most cases, unlike the first match. So Miocic just needing to tighten up his game, make sure he keeps the range, and make sure he's extra careful at clinch range. So now, what does he go for the reigning defending champion that has not lost since he has lost the second time to John Jones, DC? And what does he need to do to win this fight? And he needs to get in the clinch range and dominate that center range, pressure Stipe Miocic, constantly make him throw inside punches, and constantly throwing the takedown where he has to be light on his feet and really have to move back and forth. Because once Stipe is not stable and has to worry about many things, he does not excel greatly at everything. Like, he's good at a lot of things, but he does not excel at anything. So really, it is to go inside, punch him with the little stuff, kind of get in hard hooks, make him take it, and over the time try to break him down for the win. But who do I think is going to win this fight? I think there's too much on Stipe's plate. He sat out too long, and once you try to do those instant rematches, like I say, it really doesn't work, because it's something about being somebody else and really getting back to the top and going through all your transitions as a fighter, and then coming back and fighting the champion that really makes you better. You know, in your current state, you couldn't beat him, so why do you think you could beat him just coming right back? Unless it was a super close fight, but he got knocked out in the first round, so I think he should have a rebound fight to really get his senses back and really get a feel for who he is. And he's been sitting out a whole year. This will be a whole year since the last fight, so how does he think he's going to come back in there after a year of sitting out and come back and beat this dude? So it's just mind-boggling me. I think he's going to get knocked out again. You know, DC's going to put the hands on him. He's going to knock him out somewhere in the third round. I think DC's going to keep on making him answer questions about his clinch. And I think he's not going to want to get taken down. He's going to want to stay on his feet. And I think DC will put the hands on him and try to knock him out for a second time, stealing away his legacy like John Jones did to DC. DC will be the reigning defending heavyweight champion with almost no contenders in sight, only except Francis Ngannou and Junior Dos Santos. So we will see from there. But guys, this has been the best Go Jiren Gaming. Rate, comment, subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comment section. Should fighters get a rematch after they lose their title, or should they be able to fight other people so they can get better to rise back to the occasion? And what do you think, or how do you think this event is going to go down in my predictions? Rate that in the comment section below. This has been the best Go Jiren in UFC news, and I will see you guys next time.